So, with the coming Holy Week coming up, now I know that Easter is not really a Christian holiday. It's actually a pagan fertility holiday. I don't know if a lot of you guys knew that. But this isn't so much just a primarily religious video, but it got me to lead into a even bigger topic while I was thinking about what I was going to say for this one. Because I was looking up on Google, is Gen Z becoming more and more religious? And I was curious about this. And it actually turns out that Gen Z is less religious than any other generation except for millennials. And context to that statement, because when I looked at millennials being the one that actually caps them off ever so slightly as of whenever that sentence was published, I ended up wondering why there was a slight jump. And it got me thinking, how was this? Because when I was a millennial, there was a big religious fall away. I was probably one of the last people that I knew to fall away from religion. I was raised Catholic, wasn't really too big into it. I kind of just sat back and listened to the religious debates and never really got involved because everyone had something to say about this, that. I had a brother who was always into looking for the truth, and he came out with 1,000 different answers, but at the same time, I don't think he ever made a decision on what he actually believed in based on all the documentaries of how the wool's been pulled over our eyes and, the Matrix and stuff. If you don't realize, he's a huge Andrew Tate supporter by now, and it's almost like he's now I think he's Muslim. I don't know what he's doing right now, but I think if I asked him, it would be a far cry from what would happen 2 days prior. But let's not make that about him. But I ended up joining a Catholic community when I was a freshman in college. Now, when I was a freshman in college, I was not the perfect person. I was always playing the social games. I played the social games that a lot of us college freshmen were doing. I was in a smaller university, so there was a little bit more drama that fed into it. I wasn't the perfect human being. There were a lot of good people at the Catholic community that I was attending at the time. Some of them actually asked me to join the Knights of Columbus, and I wondered what that was, and I was honored to see that. But there were some prideful Christians who were very arrogant and looked down on people who were non-Christian. And I always asked about that contradiction. And it wasn't that I was condemning everybody in that community, but when I asked, nobody really wanted to ask that question too. So I kind of had a disassociation, because at the end of the day, being a Christian is not about looking down on people. It's not about this and that. Now, there are some verses in there about not casting pearls before swine, which basically talks about not giving things of value to people who are not going to appreciate them. But that's not really looking down. That's just warning you about being way too charitable, which a lot of people really don't know about Scripture. And that's a verse I agree with. If you're too nice, you get taken advantage of. But there was a few years of a period even after college where I just was not religiously affiliated. I didn't really think about religion. But then 2021, I got rebaptized by a Muay Thai coach of mine who was a very good guy who actually really got us to understand it in a little bit more of a nuanced way. Now, I'm not going to use this video to try and get anyone to say, hey, you have to agree with my religion. That's not what this video is about. And it's not necessarily trying to correlate religion with Gen Z and their depression. But as Gen Z is one of the most non-religious behind millennials, we're also definitely leading in depression. Now, what does that mean? Now, there could be a lot of material things. Obviously, the economy's in shambles. Home ownership doesn't seem very likely for 90% of people. It seems like everybody's kind of at each other's throats and everyone's competing against each other for what kind of just feels like table scraps at this point. Like, a lot of people don't trust anyone. A lot of people are living alone because they don't trust roommates. Brian, I understand. I've had roommates, and when you have a roommate say, hey, I can't come up with my fair share of the rent because of XYZ, trust me, that's burned into my brain. I've had that happen so many times, and it is horrible being responsible in an irresponsible society. There are a lot of factors that don't go into religion that would also attribute to millennials and Gen Zers being absolutely depressed. And by religion, I don't even mean Christianity either. Right now, currently, Islam is the fastest growing religion. And I know I brought up Andrew Tate, but a lot of him and people who are adjacent to what he is are really pushing Islam. So you're seeing a lot of these red pill guys become more Islamic and more religious. Because we do have a generation that has really left a lot of young men without any good role models and figureheads. So what do is they will cling to whatever they can, even if it's some guy on the internet that they don't know that's telling them what's appealing. They are very likely to follow guys like that who are at least offering some sort of guidance. And it's easy when you are not guided properly. I would know, as a millennial, I have seen some pretty empty areas in parenting where I was not guided properly. Now, I'm not saying that my mom and dad did a really bad job. They did their job the best they could, but they were too afraid to intervene or tell me I could not do something. In fact, sometimes I wish that my mother and father said no more and put me more in an area of growth. Like, if I could go back in time, the things that I would do differently that's a very big number. Now, obviously, I wasn't there to shake myself awake. Obviously, my parents would have been the front runners up, but, I think that there was some stuff going on that they didn't know how to go about it. So it is what it is. You can't mope about it for too long. But the point is, I know what bad guidance can be like. And some people have parents that weren't even present at all. And that can make for an even more vulnerable type of person, especially with this younger generation. We all know celebrities like Machine Gun Kelly. He had his whole brand be about how he grew from a really abusive father, and then the way him and Megan Fox broke up, I looked into that, and it just seems like childhood trauma defines that man. But lack of religious affiliations or just straight up a belief in only the material world can cause someone to believe that a lot of these traumas that we've had to face, or a lot of this shallow culture that we see all over Instagram and TikTok currently, well, it basically seems like it's all just meaningless chaos if you take out the religion from it. That's the one area where I would say religion would probably play into it, is because religion is about finding your purpose and understanding your purpose in a lot of ways. Now, obviously, you don't need religion to do such a thing. In fact, there's other non-religious areas where you where you can find your purpose and not live just an aimless, lost life. But a lot of people do not have any sort of guide, and they think that it's all just internet drama and internet memes, and that's all that their life has come down to. And it's very sad, because although I myself am not really an atheist, a lot of the atheism push is that, it's because we could live a more gratifying life with science. And well, I hate to break it to you, science has really taken over, but it's become in the form of smartphones that have done all the thinking for us, and even put a very distorted view and caused what I think is a dystopian society with short attention spans, hypersexuality, just focused on our society. A lot of people are exposed to too much content too frequently, and it's at their fingertips, and a lot of this content's addicting. It's basically a drug that we can never see. Ever since, the legalization of the plant, right? It has caused people to be more lazy. We see a lot more people willing to sit around and smoke more, and they are obviously becoming addicting from what I've seen. Now, all these articles say that, no, you can't get addicted to it. I think you can very well get addicted to it. It's very habit forming. I've seen it where people have mood swings when they are off of it. But we see a lot of that science that has replaced the religious purpose. And now we have a whole generation that doesn't even seem like a family's in for it. Even if you're not owning your home and you're living in an apartment, you can't even fill an American family into that apartment. Basically, everyone is going broke at an exorbitant rate. And the lack of morality means that our leadership and our institutions are becoming more selfish, because who's going to punish them? Nobody. Even if what they are doing is flat out illegal, we've seen some people obviously do illegal stuff and walk free from it, and they don't get any punishment. Why? Because they are part of an elite group. They are part of an elite class, and everyone else is just a peasant. We have basically come full circle to borderline what would be considered French Revolution. Now, I'm not calling for anything, but I'm starting to see a lot of parallels between today and a lot of historical moments. Now, was religion always on the decline in those areas? Not quite. It's a mixed bag. There are some areas where religion was very present before the fall, and then areas where it completely fell away from certain areas before things fell. Plenty of predominantly atheist societies have fallen. But we also bought a bunch of lies that said that if we live, more materialistic and more secular, things would get better, when it wasn't the magic potion that we thought it was. Now, if you living life secular was bad or was a good thing for you in certain ways, I would say then, go all ahead. But it's not this magic Thanos snap that's going to make everything just sunshine and rainbows. So the link between Gen Z, depression, religion, and all that stuff, right, and millennials and everything like that, I don't think that it's a one-size-fits-all. I think it obviously goes on a spectrum, and you'll find a bunch of different stories. If you ask 1,000 different people, some of them, their depression came after a lack of religion, some of it didn't. It's all basically on a spectrum, because there's more than just religion playing into it, obviously, due to our very behavior and our very culture. It's like an ice cream shop. You just have a ton of different flavors that you can choose from on whatever narrative you want to buy right now. But what I do say is that if one thing's for certain, that getting rid of religion obviously hasn't been this magic antidote like was pushed when I was a teenager, because there's a lot of those internet atheists all the way around talking about how, like, oh, if we get rid of religion, things would be better. And we're kind of living in quite a dystopian society. And that's also because our morals have gone down the drain too. And most people would probably say, oh, well, correlation doesn't equal causation. There is a correlation between the downfall of religion and the more crazy people have acted and the more free-willing they have been doing. Because now they're doing spirituality where they're telling everybody that they are God themselves. But I think that's just kind of like my thought and my experience on this whole debacle. However, I would like to hear yours. What do you think in the comments? Please be respectful. Please don't throw anything at anybody. Keep things a little, discussion-based and professional if you guys are choosing to comment on this one. But that's my debacle. I will see y'all on the next one for the next ramble. Peace out.